From Oscar Steakhouse, inside the Plaza Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, you're on the corner of Main Street. Welcome to the only podcast produced by and recorded in the Las Vegas Hotel Casino. From gaming to dining to entertainment to sports to Vegas history, this is the place to be for the inside scoop, because this is the place to be downtown. Now, here's Plaza CEO Jonathan Jossel.
We are doing something a little different today. I'm sitting here with Colleen Birch at the Fontainebleau. Gary's here with me as well. And Rich is very, very excited. I thought he was going to have a stroke. He is backstage at the Fontainebleau.
Yay.
In the flesh.
Fontainebleau Las Vegas.
Am I pronouncing it right? Fontainebleau. Hi, Colleen. Good to be with you.
Super excited.
Thank you for allowing us to see this unbelievable, beautiful place. I was in here about 18 months ago. And it's
Looks
definitely changed.
Different.
It's changed. It looks very different. It's unbelievable to walk through, see slot machines, see the carpet, see the lighting. And you must be exhausted and excited. How are you feeling?
Yeah, not sleeping much.
Really?
Lots of work to do in the next 5 days, but we're super excited about where we are and showing, kind of opening our doors and showing Las Vegas what we've been working on.
It's crazy to think that it's finally happening because, I mean, we have a very personal connection to the Fontainebleau. We bought the furniture in 2010.
Some carpet too.
Nice to see. There's a lot of carpet. Still have some of that carpet, tile. Nice to see a really nice product here. So if there was ever an opportunity in the future, it looks great. And where are we sitting? This is...
Yeah, we're in the Red Room at Don's Prime. Don's Prime is our owned and operated steakhouse named after Jeffrey Sofer's father, Donald Sofer.
Okay. And we walked through, we saw some of the lighting, some of the details, this unbelievable bar. You guys as listeners are going to be very excited to see this. It's pretty cool to be here. And there's also a personal connection here because Lisa Melmond works here. So all our podcast fans and listeners, you all remember Lisa as the original partner in this. How's she doing?
Oh, she's doing fantastic. In fact, she asked for permission to stop by and wave.
Make a cameo?
Might have a cameo.
Yeah. We'll let her talk.
It sounds like she's doing great. So we're excited to be here and to hear about you and to hear about the Fontainebleau. So thank you for taking the time to join us.
Thanks for coming to me. A little busy over here.
Yeah. So, by the way, it's the second time we've ever done this. We've only ever left the Plaza and Oscar's Bar once. It's a little early, so we don't have any cocktails here, but I expect next time I come to Don's, we'll be having cocktails. But today it's coffee, and the only other time we left the office for a podcast was for Freddie Glussman at Piero's.
Okay.
And that was
worthy.
Very unusual, but a good experience, right, Rich? Nonetheless.
Of course it was.
It does feel a little awkward being in a different steakhouse other than Oscar's to record this, but
I'm comfortable.
we're good. Yeah.
Look, I'm a big fan of Oscar's. I love that burger, and I think the vodka martini that your famous Chelsea makes is quite good.
Awesome. So I just wanted to ask, I guess, right off the top for our listeners, what is the Fontainebleau? What is the Fontainebleau brand? And kind of go through a little bit of the backstory, because there's a fantastic backstory to us opening as we will release this episode today. So,
did you just say us opening as if you're part of this team? What are you talking about?
I have some news for you.
on,
I'm sorry to let you know, but
I've been recruiting
you're the
again.
second one? That's why we're here.
we're going to start our own Fontainebleau podcast.
Well, I'll tell you, the brand is actually turning 70 years old next year. In 1954, the Fontainebleau Miami Beach was came into the world, and look,
And here she is.
Lisa Melmond's here, everybody.
Lisa Melmond.
Are you joining us, or what are you doing?
she's saying hi.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
Lisa Melmond signing in. What are you here?
Testing, 1, 2.
Making sure everything is going smoothly. Just
How
saying
formal
hello.
you are. Name tag and all, or name badge. Well, congratulations. We walked through. It's unbelievable. It looks great.
It looks amazing,
We are
right?
very excited to be here.
Honestly, every time I walk
see
in,
your hard
it's
work.
still more and more like, wow.
It is pretty well.
I think it was a miss not to have Bloody Marys on the table.
I agree.
Why didn't you guys think of this?
Shit.
You guys have it?
We've got water.
Well, you'll come back.
We were in the middle of a very interesting story from Colleen. So you joined in 2009?
Joined in September of 2008, and then had the greatest time. Actually, Fontainebleau Miami Beach was doing a re-grand opening. I was sent to support the team in Miami for about a month in October of that year. Had a great time, and then right after the top of the new year here, that's when everything was crashing in Las Vegas. Y'all remember that, right?
Sure.
Bunch of closed door meetings. People lost their job in April of that year. I wasn't one of them, but fast forward a couple months later, the entire project
Stalled.
Stalled.
And just as a brief history for everyone listening. It went to Carl Icahn, who then sold it to Whitcoff.
Yes.
Is that right? And they were going to do the Drew
The
for a
Drew.
number of years.
Right.
And then that never happened, and then it came back to Jeff Sofa, who had different partners this time in the project.
That's
Did I
right.
summarize that correctly?
Yeah. No, you've got your information down.
And I guess in all our excitement here to talk about what we just saw, we skipped over who you are. So you're the COO here at the Fontainebleau.
I am.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
And-
Big job.
And when you left in 2009, what did you do?
So I call it my summer job. I didn't take the job thinking it was a summer job, but I worked for the parent company of the Stratosphere, so American Casino and Entertainment Properties.
Okay.
Short 78 days.
Okay.
I got a phone call on maybe day 60 from John Unwin, who was a gentleman that I worked with previously at Caesar's Palace. He was over at the Cosmopolitan and said, "Can we go to lunch? Maybe the Pepper Mill. I could get you excited about an opportunity." And I said, "You tell me when to show up. I mean, I'll take you up on the lunch, but also like, what are we doing?" Yes, I'll arrive. So I spent 12 and a half years at the Cosmopolitan.
So John was the CEO then.
John was the CEO. I arrived there in November for a December opening, 13 months, which is exactly, ironically, the same time frame that I landed here at Fontainebleau Las Vegas. So I feel like I have two children, Gavin and Lily. The Cosmopolitan was a bit of a third child, and I'm getting ready to birth.
Have your fourth?
Have
Your
my
fourth one?
Both your fourth.
Birth my fourth.
Okay.
How great do I look for having four? No, I'm just kidding.
So you
That'll work.
so you were there for day one at the Cosmopolitan and getting that up and running, ready for grand opening. How does that compare to what you're doing, for the last 2 months, getting ready for this grand opening?
I am really excited about where we are. We've got a lot of work to do in the next.
Like
So
5
do I
days?
say this? 5 days, right?
As of
so we're
recording,
taping.
5
As of
days.
recording.
Yeah.
Okay, this is how we do this.
Wow,
It's my first podcast, so I
Gary,
don't know
you're
when
a
you're.
pro.
Right.
Is it your first podcast?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Honored.
I'm not cool enough.
Honored to have you.
So as of the day that we're recording, we are 5 days away, and there are still 2,200 construction workers in the building helping us finish this project off. We do our play days today, which is where our members is how we refer to our employees. We believe membership is not unique to people who join a loyalty program, but you're choosing to be a member here at the Fontainebleau Las Vegas. Our members will stay tonight, about 500 of them, in guest rooms and eat dinner.
So when I pulled up here now, they said, "Are you checking in?" I was like,
Yeah.
"I hope so."
I can arrange that.
Yeah, I was like, I sure hope I am. But that was pretty cool. I didn't know you were doing that.
Yeah.
So I guess it makes sense. Play
Yeah.
days. It's play day time.
Over the next 2 days, and then we'll reset on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then have a big party on Wednesday night.
So we'll get into that. But just going back to up the street, and maybe you can talk about this a little bit. When you opened there, and again, I'm not speaking for you, but it was a tough time in the city. There was a recession. Everyone knows what happened in 2009, 10, 11. How difficult was that? And then what was the turning point? Because in many people's eyes, Cosmopolitan became the most successful, or one of the most successful properties in the town.
Sure. It was December of 2010 when the Cosmopolitan opened, and we were coming right out of a recession. We had no database other than a Marriott distribution relationship, and so we had the transient support and had to earn everything else.
And what was your title there?
I started as the director of revenue management, and earned, by the time I left the Cosmopolitan last year, I was the senior vice president of revenue optimization, overseeing revenue and
Gives you a pretty good
database
position
marketing.
to be able to talk about it.
Yeah, right. So we had to really earn everything. The brand positioning out of the gate for the Cosmopolitan was just really remarkable, and to be a witness and a participant in how that came to be was really a unique experience, and one that I look back to often. So the brand positioning was great, but we had to earn our stripes, and really the turning point. So there were two ownerships under my 12 and a half years there. It started out with Deutsche Bank was the bank left holding that loan when the original builder of the Cosmopolitan defaulted.
Bruce
Eichner.
Eichner.
Yeah,
there
that's
we go.
right.
Yeah.
God, you. And so Deutsche Bank was around for the first couple years. In December of 2014, Blackstone purchased the Cosmopolitan, and that was really the turning point. Bill Macbeth came in as the CEO under Blackstone and really focused very, very heavily on the gaming activity there and turned the casino floor around, and the bones of the building.
What year was that?
December of 14.
Okay, so it took about 4 years for that.
It did. And, but by then the brand was established from a transient standpoint. We were very successful in the convention side of business. Food and beverage was humming on all cylinders at the Cosmopolitan. And,
Also
they're
amazing
still
location there between
50-yard line
Right.
next to the Bellagio. And then, of course, Aria was just a year prior in opening than the Cosmopolitan. But those terraces, I'll tell you what, when you're pricing rooms and you can,
put a patio out there.
Put a patio at 55 stories up on the Strip. That's a pretty unique experience.
But you can't give someone credit for that because there wasn't a vision for that. That was meant to be condos.
Those were
wasn't
meant
it?
to be condos.
Yeah.
In fact, there was a conversation really early on: is do we lock those doors? And I was saying, no. That's a differentiator.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. So I know I've heard you talk about him fondly, so I'm comfortable asking the question. But we like to talk about on this podcast great leaders in Vegas, great people that made a difference to the city. Talk about Bill Macbeth because we've never covered him here as some of the great people, but I know you're very fond of him. And what made him a special leader in this town?
Well, Bill came into the property, and I had never worked with him before, but had worked with people who had worked with him. And so, this is how it works: is you do a little bit of a reference check. I was doing my reference checks, and certainly he had done his own. I had a reputation from a previous CFO that he worked with, that he came in with kind of immediate respect and assurance that I was doing what I needed to do on the hotel side of things. What I respect most about Bill is, I'll tell you what, I've never met somebody that can look at a 100-page P&L statement and find a number that ties to another number, and those two numbers, if we can fix them, we start to do better.
Yeah.
He's just remarkable.
And a good person?
And a good person, and has been a real strong supporter for me personally. And he really takes a vested interest in the people that he works with.
That's great. I love to hear that because that's what makes this town special is good leaders. We'll leave it there. You're opening a new property. You got to be positive and upbeat about the city.
Oh my gosh. Let's just talk about this.
Well, that was my way of segueing into
Sure.
talking about the company culture here and what the identity of the Fontainebleau is going to be.
Well, I'll tell you, it starts with members. It starts with recruiting, and we tackled that very uniquely for this market. So the very first time somebody was engaging with us about a career opportunity was an audition to just understand who people are and are you a good fit for our culture.
Right.
And after we passed you through that process, then there was a conversation about do you have the technical proficiency to do the job? And so then we assemble a member community, and here we are, really with member led is how we're thinking about things, being good to one another, giving grace, creating a collaborative environment. Giving grace is really important in this opening. Assuming positive intent is something that we talk a lot about. There's a lot of nerves on high right now,
Sure.
But we've got a great team of people that really have signed up for something for all different reasons, right? You might have been disenchanted with your former employer. You might have just been looking for a great next opportunity.
You might have just moved to town.
You might have just moved to town.
A lot of people are moving to Vegas.
Plenty of people have moved to town to be a part of this. Actually, some folks from South Florida, and that's really fun to see. But people are really jazzed about what we're doing. I talk a lot about how we can create emotional connections with our guests. So if we're treating one another the same way that we expect and really intend to treat our guests, I think it's all going to work. This idea that service doesn't have to be a transaction and up and down the Strip. I think you get mostly professional service. I've coined a phrase that's polite with the personality. So we can be polite, but I can get to know you a little bit. So if you walk in and you've got a Seahawks ball cap on, I can be like, oh my gosh, we totally should have won that game last week.
Right.
And then talk about DK's great
Rich is a
great
Seahawk
game.
fan
Oh,
as
you're
well.
a Seahawk fan? What about Geno Smith last week? We got to beat the Niners on Sunday.
That's going to be a tall order.
Yeah, well,
You do look pretty good.
yeah.
How many team members do you have?
We are about, oh my gosh, I wrote it down the other, 5346.
That's pretty. They really are members. They really are members if you're counting each number,
There's
not
the
even
number.
rounding up.
No.
5396.
Yeah.
And how many hotel rooms?
3644.
Okay.
Largest occupiable building in Nevada.
Oh.
Not taller than the Stratosphere, but you can't do anything at the top of that thing.
And are all the rooms ready?
All the rooms, most of the rooms are ready.
So I want to talk a little bit more about it, but how do you teach the people to have that level of interest? Like they see the Seahawks cap, but they really don't want to make the small talk. Like, how do you teach that?
Well, I think it's absolutely a lead by example, as corny as that sounds. We walked through the property, and I think you saw some of our members walking past, and whether it's a high five or where am I eating, chef, in the kitchen today. I mean, there's good conversation, and I have had some really amazing leaders. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about George Marcantonis. He's who I consider my mentor. Gave me my first shot in 1997. I was a front desk agent at Caesar's Palace when I had just moved to town with no hospitality experience. But what George was looking for at the time was just people that had a good personality. But he emulated, or I have tried to emulate, the way that George made me feel as a leader, taking an opportunity to get to know his team. He knew the names of, he saw me get married, have babies, get divorced, still have the babies. they're not
have
babies.
Two more babies.
Have two more babies. This idea that being really present and eye contact and taking a genuine interest and really doing all of the jobs that need to be done in the building. There was nobody that picked up more trash than George Marcantonis, and to this day, I think it's in my DNA because of him.
Yeah, it's not easy to teach that, though.
No.
Especially when you got 5,400 people. I'm going to round up if you don't mind. 5,400 people. That's an impressive feat to try to get them all on board with that same level of care and passion and dedication. But
it is, and our team here,
you're committed to it. That's for sure.
I'm committed, but so is our leadership team, and I'm surrounded by people.
Sorry. So tell us, who is the leadership team?
Yeah, so our president is a gentleman named Mark Turcano. The industry that we're in is kind of incestuous, if you will, right? So Mark and I have a previous working relationship. He was at Caesars years ago. Our CMO is a gentleman that I've worked with in my past. Shane Smith. Stacy Michaels is our chief administrative officer. Kim Virtuoso comes from an MGM background. She leads people for us. Oh my gosh, I'm going to miss out. John Helderman is a CFO. I know him through Leadership Las Vegas, another incestuous.
Leadership Las Vegas. What a group.
Vegas, yeah.
All comes together.
I'll tell you what, those people. Good people.
I want to ask you a tough question, okay?
Oh, gosh.
It's not tough. You should be ready for this one. But you mentioned brand position of Cosmo. Where does the brand position of Fontainebleau fit into this city?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. So what we are going to deliver here in a storied legacy brand, but new to Vegas, is something that is interesting for curious people that are looking for luxury, but want to do that with a little bit more flavor. And that is not a marketing approved statement, but either way, I think I'm going to say some inappropriate things here today. Anyways, I'll probably get in trouble.
So
how much of that comes from the Fontainebleau in Miami?
Yeah, Fontainebleau Miami Beach for its entire legacy has been the place to see and be seen. Back through the Rat Pack era, in the 60s and 50s, and Live nightclub LIV is the Roman numerals for 54. The year Fontainebleau Miami Beach was came onto the market there. So there is some pull through from Miami. We have a couple restaurant concepts here that are at our sister property in Miami Beach, but we also have restaurant concepts that are out of Miami proper. Poppy Steak is one. Komodo.
People are very excited for those to come to town.
Yeah, so we're in Don's Prime, which is our very traditional, kind of old school. Our assistant GM here likes to say a place where everybody will know your name. So this is the way that we want people to feel when they're dining here. If you want a little bit more vibe and maybe even feel like you're in a club, the later the night goes, Poppy Steak would be where you'd choose to.
Back on the position, are you going, obviously Fontainebleau brand is high end, but in terms of where it fits into the city, is it up there with Wynn? Is that the idea? Is that where we're going with the
absolutely
brand?
Absolutely. I think we're right there with at the top.
To be the luxury and also sounds like a little bit more fun. Yeah. Energetic.
You can expect again, kind of this, I've had really wonderful experiences at the Wynn. Their staff is incredibly professional.
Yeah, I think Wynn's staff, what always amazes me about there is how long some of them have been there. And they can all tell you stories about day one with Steve Wynn or Mr. Wynn and some of the other team members, and they can remember. There's a lot of loyalty there, and that's a big part of building that brand, is having that. Speaking of day one, is this the first time in a long time, or maybe ever, that two casinos have opened basically in the same week?
Durango Station is what you're speaking of, and I think, and I haven't been there yet. I've heard really wonderful things about them, and I think it's an upgrade for that southwest part of the valley.
So I went out there last night. Hadn't been there before, but I was blown away by it. Really, really impressive. And the amount of people in there was just unbelievable to see that. Obviously, I know when a casino opens, everyone wants to check it out. The new guy in town. I'm sure with Stations Database, there's a lot of people from Red Rock, Green Valley.
Yeah.
But it was packed. I mean, and that was, I think, day 3. So
I heard they were under ATM'd.
they were under ATM. They proudly told me they ran out of cash. I think that's a good brag. I ran out of cash. There's so much cash in this building that
Scream it, yeah.
it was a. I guess you'd never want to run out of cash in a casino, but the restaurants are good. The food court looked good. I checked out Bel Air, the new bar. It was impressive.
Yeah.
It was impressive.
Yeah, I
mean,
wish
it's
them well.
definitely on an island out there.
Yeah. There's a gentleman, Alex Acuna, there that we share a birthday, 1229. So I call him my 1229 brother. But he does
I was with him last night.
Yeah.
He does their PR.
I
exactly.
love him.
So talking back to Fontainebleau, what would you say is your biggest uncertainty or biggest challenge? Or I guess, as I like to ask my team members, what's keeping you up at night?
Oh my gosh, I feel like every night is a bit of like a Christmas Eve where I can't sleep because I'm so excited.
Yeah.
But also I am so tired and I wish I could sleep. What's keeping me up at night is just really the getting the doors open and then just allowing our team to show exactly what we have behind these 4 walls. I did a media tour yesterday for some folks in the Valley who write for different publications, and despite some things being leaked out on social media, there truly, I don't believe, is a firm understanding of exactly what Fontainebleau Las Vegas will be.
But that's not keep you up at night. That's a good thing.
No,
That's
that's
the suspense.
yeah. So,
was that an intentional strategy to do as little as possible out there, not to leak anything?
We wanted to own our own narrative and show the product when it was further along, and it's a different strategy. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What keeps me up at night? Uniforms. So they're going to be beautiful, and hopefully they will all be here by next Wednesday. That keeps me up at night. I think if I'd be remiss if I didn't say IT, not because I don't have really great IT partners, but the way that the business runs is all the machines.
You want to speak, Rich?
I wish I owned a suit as nice as the one that the valets have.
Oh, what about them? Didn't they look sharp?
Wonderful.
I might have
Super
you
sharp.
should start wearing a suit for this podcast. You should get a podcast suit. I'm going to get you something.
I'll be looking
I'll
forward
let
to
you
that.
know if we've got an extra.
Yeah.
Okay.
Extra super fat guy.
I mean, thanks, Rich. I guess, Gary, as a hotel operator yourself, it must be insane to try to furnish and make 5,000 or 3,600 beds. I mean, the amount of detail that goes into setting those rooms for the first time must be unbelievable.
True story. Last weekend, we assembled teams of 60 members Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I brought my 80-year-old mom and my 17-year-old daughter, and we punched rooms over the weekend. And so that is if you're not familiar with that term, that's a process that, check the lights and the drapes and the phones and the water pressure. And is it hot water? And, does the water, when you turn it on, come out of the faucet or the shower? I mean, because that could happen.
Yeah.
So our job is to spend time, meaningful amount of time in every.
Does the safe work?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Does the remote control turn the TV on? We've got some really great technology in the room with, control panels that will, help you make smart choices in the room. Closing it all on and all off, drapes and things like that.
Air conditioning units and everything like that.
If we know if you're not in the room, we can take your temperature up and we'll get it back down when the motion is there.
Okay.
You mentioned something about it. Actually, I'm curious about this. This building's been here now, 18 years?
Yeah.
How much did you have to change the physical structure, like versus cosmetic? Did you have to go in and redo everything? Because you've been here now. You must be one of the original team members at this point.
I'm member number 44.
Okay.
And that's
proudly wearing that number.
I was number 8 down the street. Now I'm just like, 44. But Obama also was 44.
Okay.
I'm good with that. So many of the cosmetic choices and certainly in the front of house areas were enhanced when Jeff Sofer and his business partner Brett Muffson came back into the fold in 2019. But the bones of the building had been very, very well taken care of. And I think that's a misnomer on the Strip, too, that this building was just sitting vacant for all of these years without care and attention. And the only way that we were able to pick it up and get going again is because it was in such good shape.
The glass panels are secure.
They are
good.
secure.
Okay, good.
I know when it was changed briefly to the Drew that there was talk. There's a small documentary on, I think it's on YouTube, Some Bright Films, about the Fontainebleau. It's called Abandoned, and it goes through kind of the history. It's amazing.
You haven't seen it?
No,
it's a great. It's one of the great stories, and talks about how basically it went through those cycles and then came back. But it's a pretty cool story about it.
That's great.
And they had mentioned that that there were some structural changes done when it became the Drew versus, from when it was originally built. Did you guys have to go back and make any of those changes once that ownership came in? Once the ownership came back, I guess?
Yeah, I'm sure that they did, but I'll tell you what, I arrived here November 7th of last year, and any of those changes had already been done before I got here, and I really wasn't so concerned about, a
You were
former
more-
owner or plan. I was, what's our plan and how are we going to get there?
You were plugging the pieces into the puzzle by that point.
I was.
Everything was here.
Yeah.
And I guess I would speak to the fact that there was going to be a pool deck, there's going to be a convention center, all those things were going to happen, and now they've just made it look amazing, basically.
Oh my gosh, 6.5 acre pool deck. It's just going to be the place to be.
Is it on the roof?
It is.
It's on the
on the
ground?
roof. No, it's on the roof,
Okay.
and it's basically sitting out over off of Las Vegas Boulevard. Great view of the Circus across the way. Either way, our guest rooms are going to look down on it. It's just stunning. It's beautiful. There are two and the potential third restaurant outside at the pool deck. We've made really beautiful choices, everything down to the pool towels. I think it's going to be special.
I think people don't understand that scale. Like, you're going to have that many pool towels
Yeah.
at that pool, and you're going to have that many bed sheets and pillowcases that every day need to go through. These are like small cities.
Well, and I'll tell you what, maybe for another day, but an amazing back-of-house tour would be to understand how below the ground we have something called ring roads. So there is a ring in the depths
basement?
of
Really?
the Fontainebleau that will allow us to move around an 18-bay loading dock, which is just a dock master's dream to have 18 bays.
Isn't also for VIP access?
We have a VIP access. You could come straight down underground and come into our VIP, and then directly up to our top 5 floors of the building are called fleur de lis. So 78 keys of the most beautifully furnished.
Only 78 rooms.
Upstairs on the top 5
I
floors.
understand. Yeah.
High-end
Talk
penthouse
about the top
product.
5 floors. What are the top 5? Because
Yeah.
you've got one of the tallest buildings
That's
other than Stratosphere. So what's happening up there?
Yeah, so 5 floors of very, very high-end suite products. So our high-end gaming customers, I think we'd sell for cash as well to the right person for the right
The
price.
views must be insane.
Oh, views are terrific, and looking down at the Sphere, I think that might be the side that everybody wants to look at. But really, there is no bad view when you're 60
That high up.
63 stories up.
So it's 78 luxury rooms or high-end rooms. And
High-end
then
rooms.
is there F&B up there, gaming up there? What else is up there?
There is a space at the top.
you
I'm going to be
can't-
coy
okay,
here.
okay.
What I can tell you is that there is a omakase bar at the very top
Oh, wow.
called Ito, and Ito is out of New York City. We've got some really wonderful partners. I had the luxury of eating at Bar Ito in New York in September, and I have never had a more amazing omakase experience in my life.
Wow.
So that'll be something.
So I wanted to ask. I know you're. Before you said you used to work on the 50-yard line right there at Cosmo, and now you're kind of over on the north end of the strip. When I first, just a little bit of a backstory, when I first moved to town, it was for SLS when that was opening. And that was a different brand coming from another city, and they were looking for something a little bit more upscale as well. They had their challenges and things like that. So how are the challenges going to be for you guys over here on the north side, and what are you guys going to be able to bring? I mean, it's obviously much different than what it was, 10 years ago with SLS, but
Sure. Well, I think, if we talk about the strengths, being adjacent to the South Hall at the convention center is just really wonderful. What we know about
And Bagel Mania.
and Bagel Mania, yes. Bagel Mania. God, you got me distracted thinking about lunch.
Thinking
now.
about lunch.
it's still early.
But so yes, I mean, I think the north end of the strip is, kind of something that's under revitalization, if you say that. So our partner, our neighbors across the way with Resorts World, we're just down from the Encore and the Wynn and Sahara on the other side now from us. What I know about this property is that if a guest comes for 2 or 3 days, there's enough to do inside of our 4 walls that you don't have to be a pedestrian and go walk. So
Right.
I'm not so concerned about, somebody who says your neighborhood's not what I want it to be, or not the 50-yard line. So we have enough diversity in Fontainebleau that you could eat somewhere different for all of your meals a day. You could, go to Poppy Steak one night and have, in-room dining in the next day. Go to Live. Go to the pool. There's enough to do here that you really don't need to leave unless you want to.
Yeah.
back to the proximity to the convention center, and we have our own 550,000 square feet of meeting space, which is a really
550,000.
Yeah. So what's your bingo hall? What's
That's
that?
enormous. Our whole convention space is about 35,000 square feet, 40,000 square feet.
Right.
You're
So
10x.
we do.
12x.
And actually, we have one ballroom that's 105,000 square feet. It's pillarless
That's
and
a city
carpeted.
in and of itself.
That's the largest ballroom in a hotel, carpeted and pillarless in the United States.
wow.
So 2 747s could be nose to nose. We couldn't fly them in, but we'd have to assemble them in the ballroom just to put it into perspective.
Yeah, heck of a build out.
So that would be a great bingo game.
You're not doing bingo here. Don't challenge me at bingo. I'm the bingo king.
Okay. We're not doing bingo here.
No, I know. But I've never really heard anyone say it that way. So that's interesting. You're thinking of it less about the neighborhood and more about we're taking care of ourselves and this is what you're going to have here. Because obviously where we come from in downtown, it's all about the neighborhood and walking distance to everything. But here it's, I'm glad to hear that. That sounds like a good strategy versus, but I assume your neighbors are very excited about you.
Oh, I can't imagine.
Because, and I know Gary's a huge Sahara fan. But
well, and what I think, what is true is that when anything new in Las Vegas opens up, it's just good for the entire city. And so we're really fortunate to have a lot of people rooting for us.
For sure. Do you guys talk at all? We had a guy called Jeremy Aguero on our podcast last week.
So brilliant.
Do you guys look at all about like the indicators of what's happening in the economy, in the city? Any concern about where we are?
I think we'd be foolish not to always tune in and be concerned. But Jeremy is just a wealth of information. I listened to that, but was there a teaser and then
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So we did a teaser because the subject was so topical about F1, but then everyone said, Jonathan, you're being a little critical of F1. And I said, well, I'm not being critical. It's a great event. It's a great experience. I love it. It just wasn't good for my business, but that's just a fact. I can't hide that. But it was a great event for everyone listening. We really enjoyed F1 and I think next year is going to be even better. So, but definitely you guys didn't need to rush to open for it if that's
well, it was one of
originally one of the ideas.
Yeah, it was one of the first questions that I asked Jeff when I arrived on my very first day. I said, is there a chance that we could speed up this construction and get open for F1? And the answer was absolutely not, nor do we want to be.
Well, he was ahead of the curve then.
And so being able to learn from the city and what the city experienced, I think was helpful for us. We'll be very strategic as we put November of 2024 on sale. We're very happy with our location being outside of the track.
I can come hang out here.
You can.
Go on the roof and watch from there. But you do have other things happening that could be very beneficial to the city, like the A's moving here.
And we're excited about, I guess we have to call it the big game. On February 11th.
No, you can say Super Bowl now.
Super Bowl here?
Yeah, we could talk about the Super Bowl, but if we're advertising anything, it's a big game.
Okay.
That is going to be the best weekend in Vegas.
It's going to be over the top. In our ownership, and there are a lot of ties to the NFL, certain...
Well, if Miami makes it, Miami's got a chance.
Oh, my gosh. What about that? That would be the greatest outcome.
Better than Seattle?
No. But they're in different divisions. They
could both make it.
Oh, that would be good for you. What? It's not happening. So talking back to your opening and being in the North End, what are you doing for the Players Club? Are you guys operating your own? You're starting your own one?
Yeah, we have Fontainebleau Rewards, and we would encourage everybody to sign up. It is a program that is agnostic to spend, so a gaming program as well as non-gaming.
Explain that for the person that doesn't know what you're talking about.
Right. So traditionally in Las Vegas, a membership card has primarily been, inserted into a slot machine or shown to your table games dealer when you are gambling. But we believe that there's all types of spend, and we're not going to discriminate. So bless you, Rich. Bless you again.
Oh, Rich.
Oh, Rich.
Don't edit that out. We want to all hear your sneeze on the podcast.
So, we've got a really wonderful food and beverage outlets, and you could come here and you could be a hotel guest and spend, and you could go visit the spa. And so we're going to, all of your spend in this building will work for benefits.
Okay. Rich, you excited about that?
I love that.
I'll get you signed up before you
Well,
leave
that's
here
what I was
today.
about to ask you, because
Yeah.
I remember with Resorts World, there was a lot of criticism that they weren't signing people up quickly enough on that opening week. And obviously, when you're the new place in town, everyone's going to come check you out. You want to give people a good first impression. Getting them a player's card or not running out of cash or all those sort of basics is like, make sure you're ready for that. So how do you do that?
Well, and I knew I was going to forget somebody as I was listing off our executives earlier. Michelle Rita is our chief of casino marketing, and she's brilliant in her own right. I feel like we're soul sisters in some way. We love to drop an F-bomb when it's appropriate. Michelle has a plan with her casino host to be outside and engaging with customers prior to our doors opening. We're doing some activations, pre-enrollments, from a gaming standpoint. We can't all the way enroll you until we scan your ID and make sure that you really are who you say you are. But we're going to make that very, very easy for guests.
Yeah, so you can do online, right? But you can't. You can register online, but when you come, you still have to physically sign up.
That's right. We'll get a card in your hand. We'll take a picture of your driver's license.
Will guests be able to use the rewards from Miami here? Like, will you guys be able to share that database and those rewards?
We're having those conversations, and the answer is at some point, yes. Probably not by the day that we open.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I got a big question for you.
Big question.
We can't take
Hard
too much of your time. No, that's an easy one. What are you most excited about?
I am most excited about just the city really understanding exactly what this is and what we have created, and experiencing the enthusiasm that our members are prepared to deliver.
One place you can only eat at for the rest of your life. Which one are you eating at?
One place I could eat at.
In the Fontainebleau. Don't say Oscars. That would be awkward.
In the Fontainebleau. It might just be Don's Prime where we're sitting. I think this is going to be really a special environment. They've got great Wagyu on the menu. Not that I could eat that every day, but seafood. I think it's right.
Variety.
I think it's right here.
And
if I can drink, only one place, because let's go there next.
Yeah.
We've got a spot called Azul, which is primarily tequila and mezcal inspired cocktails.
I feel like my wife might be there a lot.
Yes. Well, let's do that.
What about entertainment? What are you guys doing? So you got the grand opening coming up. From that point onwards, are you allowed to say what's happening at the grand opening?
No.
No? Okay.
We're having a big party.
Okay.
And the doors will open to the public just before midnight on the 13th.
There'll be a line around the block for that.
We've got some over-unders on what that line is and when it starts to form. So I don't know if you've got any perspective.
An over-under in terms of like distance or number of people?
Like distance.
Are you going to do like a ceremonial?
PM.
Yeah, in the PM. Leading into the 14th, basically.
We're having a ribbon cutting ceremony that morning with ownership as well as dignitaries from the city.
Okay.
And that will happen.
But you're not in the city. You're actually.
We're in the county.
Who's coming from the city or the county? Or both?
We have extended offers to everyone.
Okay,
it's
very
right
politically correct. Mm-hmm. Very nice. But who's cutting the ribbon? Jeff Sofa.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes. As he should.
As he should. He's been doing this now for 18 years. He deserves to.
And December 13th, our opening date is his birthday.
Is it really? Mm-hmm. Well, that's serendipitous.
Just after I asked him about F1 and the timeline on my first day, we had the conversation about what would the first day be.
It was like my birthday.
And Jeff said, well, my birthday's in December 13th. And I said, I think that's fantastic. I said, we can do that for the soft opening. My birthday's the 29th, and we'll make that the grand opening. And he said, you realize this is my hotel? And I said, yes, I do.
So you'll do a ribbon cutting, and then do you do like a first roll? What time will the tables open? What time will you be ready to rock and roll?
Our first roll is going to happen almost kind of right before the door. Well, as the door, first roll, because it will be legal dice and everything else, and we've got a great first roll happening.
Oh, you have a person already in mind?
We have a person in mind.
I was really hoping it was going to be me. I did the first roll.
You weren't invited?
No,
I'm coming to the party, but I wasn't invited to roll the dice.
No, you won't be invited to roll the dice. But the doors will open.
But I can buy in and roll my own dice.
Maybe.
I plan to gamble myself.
Okay, yes, and we'll get you enrolled in the program.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
You want the first player's card? Is that what you're...
No, I do want. I will gamble though that night. You got to support the new guy in town.
I had a friend reach out and said, I'd like a player's card and I'd like it to be 8 8s. And I said, I don't think the system works in a way that you get to tell me what you want your player's
on the number
ID to be.
No, that's going to be a big day for you guys, the 13th.
And then back to your question about entertainment. Post Malone is here on December 30 and 31, so ringing in the new year. And the way that we're thinking about entertainment, we have Live Nation as a partner on the entertainment side of things, but kind of thinking about bringing more people through more frequently than, kind of long runs.
Residencies. Mm-hmm. But what do you have? You have a showroom?
We do. We have a theater, and depending on the seating configuration, it's just under 4,000 seats. Beautiful, super intimate, and it's very universal. So we can have a general session in there for a meeting customer, or we could put a boxing ring in the middle of the floor, and then have a
boxing, yeah, okay.
Boxing, or it really could be an NBA court because the ceiling is so high. I think our idea is that space could be really used pretty flexibly.
Okay, so you open 13th, then you have a couple of weeks there, I'm sure, like a soft opening, and then New Year's Eve is...
After the races.
Everything's
Yeah,
there.
and then 5 weeks later, it's the big game,
All right.
Super Bowl, where Seattle and Miami will meet. And
We'll be back. Well, thank you, Colleen. I appreciate your time. I know you have a lot to do.
Absolutely.
We always try to keep our podcast under an hour. And
I know I was going to try to get you to go over an hour and feel like I had bragging rights.
No. Well, you got other things to do, I assume. Well, actually, Gary has a question. You could take 20 minutes to answer this question if you want.
So
What's the question?
we ask all of our guests the same question, and I think it's especially important with the first shovel going in the ground, 2005, 2006, to multiple ownerships, to finally now being here. What advice would you give to our listeners?
And by the way, Gary, didn't you say this is the last remaining?
This is pretty much the last remaining piece of the 2008 financial crisis.
I didn't think
because
about it
it's
that
the,
way,
it's
but
the last thing that's pretty much going to activate, and that was
Well, yeah, I guess they did demolish the Frontier, which never got rebuilt.
right.
It's just an empty parking lot across from the wind still. So I would challenge you on that. But anyway, continue with your question.
So, what advice would you like to give to our listeners? Now that we're 24 hours away from opening, as this podcast will be released.
Is the question to somebody who's in my space?
Well,
what's-
you got 20 minutes.
That's
so you
usually
could
your
give-
question.
you could give-
Is like, what would you say to somebody?
Well, I wanted to open it up, but let's say, what advice would you give to young professionals kind of coming in, or to the team members that are going to be starting day one?
Members, not team members.
Members.
And I should say a little plug for UNLV and certainly condolences to what happened earlier
Absolutely.
this week. I am a graduate of UNLV in the hotel college, and I go back to school a handful of times a year and talk to students and share my path and my experience.
What did you do there at UNLV?
I arrived in '97 and I graduated a couple years later, hotel management.
In hotel
Yeah,
management. Okay. Which is today the best hotel school in the country.
That's right.
When you went, though, I think it was only the second best hotel school in the country.
Yeah, Cornell tried to have the bragging rights for a while. Did you go to Cornell?
No, I didn't go to either.
Oh, good.
I have zero experience.
Yeah. Well, I also.
Or education, I should say.
That's clear. So from a student standpoint, and what I think is most important to people who are just beginning their career in hospitality, I encourage people to think about diversifying their skill set. So honing in on a job and getting to be really good, and don't move too quickly. So it's not just a resume hopper, but I started at the front desk, and then I went to housekeeping, and then I went to reservations, and those opportunities built off of each other, and really have created this. Grading my own paper here, but a well-rounded hotel executive, because I've got the perspective of some disciplines in my past. And so I would tell anybody starting out their career is to just kind of move around and say yes to new opportunities. Show up every single day to work, not just for when you need something.
Mm-hmm.
I had a guy that trained me down the street, and he would really put it on when there was an opportunity in front of him, and he'd interview and he wouldn't get the job, and he would go back to being Paul. So don't be Paul.
You're really committed to the down the streets and the members.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's not just this aren't just words to you.
I'm
That's
committed.
This is a lifestyle.
Yeah, no, it is.
I have to tell you, Gary embodies what you just said. The guy never says no to anything. He started as a poker manager, then became a casino host, went into a little bit of table games, and then basically took over the hotel operation. So that's the idea of never say no to anything.
Yeah, that's great.
You
And
want
you know
people
what?
like
And then
that.
surround yourself with good people. I think it's key to have a mentor. George Marcantonis is the person that if I'm stuck, actually when the Fontainebleau, when my job was done in June of 2009, he was the phone call I made because I was a little bit stuck.
Where
what do I
was
do
he
next? He was in the Bahamas
Okay.
with Atlantis at the time.
Okay.
And
But
he's
didn't
been-
he come back here to?
He did. He came back to the market, and he was at the Venetian Palazzo for many years, and then he's on the Gaming Commission now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Colleen. I'm sure you have a lot to do. We appreciate your time. We are very excited to see it. I'm excited to check out all the new restaurants, to see the new nightclub, to see Liv, to see you in your element.
Yeah.
Have you got your outfit ready?
I do, and I need to stop these tastings. Otherwise, I'm never gonna fit in that. dress.
We wish you the best of luck. The new kid in town is very exciting, and see you on Wednesday night.
That's great. You guys come back and have dinner. We'll do this again without microphones.
Are you a fan of On the Corner of Main Street? You're listening, so we'll assume that's a yes. So share the love, rate, review, and tell a friend to subscribe. Also, follow us on Twitter and Instagram @PlazaPod, on Facebook, Plaza Podcast, and feel free to write to the man himself @Jonathan Jossel. We'll see you next time, right here on the corner of Main Street.